Well, the report deals with the regulation of the large research partnership that exists between the federal government and many universities and university-related institutions around the United States. For decades and decades, since the end of the Second World War, the United States has used its research universities as the core of its fundamental research enterprise. So there are countless projects that are carried out all across the country, and in these institutions, and the federal government pays for a lot of it and regulates it. The regulation is essential in order to, of course, protect the federal investment, to ensure financial accountability, to ensure the safety of human subjects who might be involved in research, or the safety of animals, or the safety of research participants themselves, or public safety, or national security. There are various interests that have to be protected by regulation. In recent years, as science has become more complex and as society has become more complex, there has been a rising regulatory burden. The amount of time that scientists and project participants have to spend on accountability, on compliance, has risen significantly, and there is in the country a large amount of concern as to whether the amount of time people are spending on regulatory activity is taking too much away from their ability to actually do the projects that the federal government is paying for. So we've been asked, this committee was asked by Congress, really through the national academies, to carry out a study of the overall regulatory burden with an idea of looking at whether it's efficient in effect. Is it properly sized? Is it the overall demand appropriate? This project has importance because the federal government is spending tens of billions of dollars every year supporting research that in the end affects the quality and opportunity in national life. Americans have a high confidence in the ability of research to produce a better future. They're interested in research. They believe in research. We're paying for tens of billions of dollars of research. The question is, are we getting the best bang for the buck? The subject that is relevant to this commission is really whether the regulatory load is taking too much time away from the investigators and the institutions, too many dollars away from the institutions, to give optimal output toward the research projects that the federal government is paying for, the taxpayers are paying for. That's why it's important. And we want to see that this enterprise, which we're spending many, many, many dollars on as a nation, is as effective as possible. The main messages of this report are, first, that the regulatory enterprise is very complex, in our view, excessively complex. It has to be complex in some significant measure because there are around 25 federal agencies that are supporting scientific research in universities, and they have diverse missions and diverse needs. There are other reasons having to do with just the way government functions that generate complexity in all of this. But the committee's judgment is that it's more complex than it needs to be, it costs more money than it needs to, it takes more time than it needs to, and we recommend quite a few actions towards simplification. with a strong emphasis on harmonization of regulatory activity on common purposes across agencies, so that they're all using the same kinds of tools and asking for the same types of information for the same purposes, and not requiring different sets of information. So we have recommended changes in structure going forward to enable a more sensible, anticipatory regulatory approach to develop going into the future. And we believe that we could achieve, with no additional expenditures of money really, a more efficient overall approach that gives a chance for a larger fraction of the dollars being spent on research by the federal government and the taxpayers to actually go to the execution of the research itself. Thank you.